Do you guys think there's a benefit to working with an African agency, an agency that's based in Africa and marketing to an African audience?
Oh, absolutely. I think an African agency will have a better understanding of what's going on the ground and are able to then take your message and communicate it in a way that's relatable to that African market.
Yeah, localizing the message in a
Absolutely.
way.
So an African agency understands African nuances, load shedding, a whole bunch of other things that we experience that other countries don't. But that also allows us to draw on that and make things relevant. But I think in when we talk in African context, there's a continent and then there's Southern Africa, and they're vastly different. It would be naive of us to think that we understand all the nuances that are happening up in East Africa, West Africa, North Africa. So being an African agency, yes, time zone, language, context of being on the continent, that makes a difference. But you still need on the ground localization, like you were saying.
There is some sort of shared experience, especially in Southern Africa. An agency needs to be able to speak to if they're marketing across the border. And I think with a lot of international business now coming here, I think there's more and more need for a truly African agency and an agency that understands this market.
That's what makes South Africa so strong. We are that touch point internationally for the rest of Africa. So we get the best standards. We understand best practice and how to get the real nitty-gritty stuff done, but with the understanding of the space that we're working in.
I mean, the nuances in Africa is the adoption of mobile devices. So mobile devices have changed the way commerce happens throughout the continent, the way money moves around in the entire continent. But data is super expensive.
Yeah.
So that's the constraint. So, do you eat or do you buy data, or do you now go and surf an app or something else?
Yeah.
What are you going to use first? So that pecking order, understanding that in an African context is crucial when you're putting in strategies. So the strategies, even though we understand the continent, you still need to work with local partners to implement that on the ground. I mean, in terms of the South African context, in terms of skills, so even though there is a skills shortage, I mean, we've got unbelievable skills in country. So we're able to draw on that. But we've become global citizens, I guess. I mean, there's so many South Africans all over the world.
It's a globalized nation. We all are, and we have context to what's going on in the rest of the world all the time. And I think that's one of the privileges of being an African agency.
And culture.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, we've got such a diverse culture here. It's a proper mixing pot which we can draw on those experiences. And that's, once again, why being an African agency, you're able to produce such great results.
It's about speaking in a very direct way to your audience and speaking to them in a language they understand. And I don't necessarily mean that in terms of language, but colloquializing the content that they see. Some of the best South African trends are South African trends. They're not trends that were global and brought here. You can see that with TikTok all the time, where the trends you're seeing, because we're scrolling in South Africa, are South African trends.
Yeah.
That's what we're eating all the time, and that's what we like consuming. There's a whole culture to using social media here that you wouldn't be able to find necessarily everywhere else in the world. And that's why I think when you are trying to speak to the market here, finding a local agency should be a priority for your business and not just something you think about.
But the idea with an African agency is actually to take South Africanisms or Africanisms and marry that with best practice.
I'm Evan, we're Firewater. Let's chat.